Welcome to the Gabby and Celine Show, movie edition.
3. Hey movie lovers, welcome back to the Celine and Gabby Show.
Get into your most comfy PJs, sit back and relax because tonight it's movie night.
Tonight we'll be reviewing the 2 films, Place Beyond the Pines
and the TV series Black Mirror, specifically the episode White Bear.
And how these 2 films relate to contemporary society. So movie lovers, I bet you're wondering what these 2 awesome films are about.
Well, The Place Beyond the Pines is a 2012 American crime drama film directed by Derek Cianfrance. It is about a motorbike stunt rider named Luke who turns to bank robbing as a way to provide for his lover and their newborn child. This decision puts him on a collision course with an ambitious rookie cop navigating a department ruled by a corrupt detective.
And Black Mirror is a British science fiction television series created by a guy named Charlie Brooker. And it is created around the dark, satirical themes that examine modern society, and in particular with regard to the unanticipated consequences of the new technology that is all around us in society today. So, the episode that we're talking about is from season 2 and it's called White Bear. So it is about a lady named Victoria. So she wakes up and she can't remember a thing. She's in this house and she can't remember anything about her life. And everyone that she encounters just refuses to communicate with her. So towards the end we find out that she's actually put onto a game show that punishes criminals for entertainment by erasing their memories and making them relive the same day over and over and over again. We also find out that the crime that she did commit was abducting and murdering a child with her past boyfriend. So while he killed the child, Victoria filmed the whole thing. Right, so now we're going to discuss how relevant these 2 films are to the contemporary society that we live in today.
Mainly to do with criminality and corruption.
Yes, so in Place Beyond the Pines, it represents the tragedies in the world, so the tragedy of that families have to go through. So it shows the grieving process that they have to go through, like when families are torn apart or like a tragedy happens within their family.
Yep, so you've got that with grief, you've got death, and how when people pass away, you go through that process of grieving, and you see that through how Jason, when he finds out how his father is killed, he's quite upset by it.
And social classes is a big theme that depicts the contemporary society today, because it shows how if you're on the lower class, you're abused by you're disadvantaged and abused by the upper class, and it shows how you get used and how you turn to doing bad things like that, like committing crimes because you are the lower class and you feel like there is no way to move up to the higher class, and you feel like crime is the only way that you can do that.
Yeah, so in Place Beyond the Pines, you've got the whole idea of, you've got where Luke is and Ro and all the society that they have there, and you've got the police that are a bit further up.
Yeah.
And how that the police have a lot of control over the people who live in the town, and everyone's quite scared of them.
Yeah. So we also see how people turn to crime to support their family. So often, like in the film, we see how Luke turned to robbing banks to support his family, to try have a good life with him, his son, and Ro. And we see that in modern society where many people will just rob petrol stations, little things like that, just to get whatever they can to help their family move forward, and they think that the littlest amount of money will help their family.
Their motive is mainly to do with their family and helping get through tough times. And so you've also got police brutality is shown through it, and how the police, when they went into Ro's house and started searching it without a warrant, they were quite rough and threatening to her. And you see that today as well with the Black Lives Matter movement.
Yeah, I feel like the police brutality in the film is the one that really depicts the contemporary society that we live in today, because I think that the police brutality is such a harsh matter that we are dealing with. Like with Gabby said, with the Black Lives Matter, and you see that African Americans in America are just getting shot on the street randomly for no reason at all. It's just a police officer has seen that he's a black person and they just decide to shoot him.
Yep, so if we move on over to White Bear, you've got the main theme of how society is quite desensitized because of what they see in the media, and just anything they see online.
Yeah, I think that the desensitized is a real like confronting part of White Bear, because it actually shows us how when we log onto our Facebooks and stuff and we see the fights that are happening, we kind of scroll past thinking that it's nothing, but it is something, because these people have chosen to pull out their phones rather than stopping the fight. I feel like that's just really confronting for me.
Yeah, we're just so used to seeing it that we're not really fazed by it.
Yeah. So another theme that
we saw was how actions come with consequences. So you've got that idea of punishment, and how in it you've got how she committed the crime and then they punished her by putting her on that game show and making her relive it over and over again.
Yeah. And another thing is how media covers the crime. So news stations and radio stations, they choose what to tell the rest of society, and a lot of it is to do with crime and crimes that people have committed. So people do again become desensitized by this. So when they do see something that happens, they're not as like worried, or they don't really think anything much of the crime that has been committed. But we can also see how the media is quite biased, as in when they describe certain people, and they can create a false sense of fear that is not actually there, but they basically tell society to fear a certain race or
and because they are quite professional, a lot of people in society believe them and take what they say and think that it's correct, but sometimes it's not. And so also that kind of brings in the effect of technology being has a really big effect on people and how they act, and how people in White Bear were quite they were on their phone all the time. They didn't really care what was going on. They're just filming it.
Yeah, I feel like technology affects people. It brings in the same points as the media coverage and the desensitized. It kind of is an eye-opener to how much technology does take over our lives, and how we're fine by as long as we get those 15 seconds of that fame, like on a TV show, on Instagram or something, we're fine. We don't care how we have to get there, kind of thing. I feel like it shows.
Yeah, and you've got that whole violence as entertainment in our society, and how in White Bear you've got how they were throwing things at her and they were laughing at her when she realised that what she had done was wrong and that she was actually getting punished for it.
Yeah, and I feel like that reflects the real world in how overseas in Middle Eastern countries, they have public hangings where people actually go watch to see someone get hung from a crane, and it's just so that shows the violence as entertainment.
Yeah. And you've got that also with punishment. What's the difference between justice and punishment? Is what are they doing? Is it right or is it wrong? Is this really justice? Are they getting punished correctly? And so when in White Bear especially, she's getting punished quite harshly, and I think it's not right.
Yeah, I think that's with you too. Another one is kind of what is reality? We to do with the media again, we don't actually know what they're telling us is the truth, or if it's not the truth. All over Facebook we have different opinions on everything, so we're not actually 100% sure it's always behind a screen of what we're looking at. And that's the same in White Bear. She doesn't actually know what is going on.
Yeah, she's very confused and unsure.
Yeah.
So we realised that throughout both of them, there's quite a lot of social messages that are displayed.
Yeah, so in Place Beyond the Pines, we have the effects of social classes and corruption within higher power. So this kind of says how in the contemporary society that we live in today, how these high powers are corrupting us and how they use us to their advantages, and they can basically do whatever they want to us, and it kind of brings us to the realisation that we shouldn't stand for that.
Yeah, and so if you move over to White Bear, you've got the main social message that I think that I saw was how punishment is sometimes used as entertainment for other people, and that kind of brings in that aspect of what is justice and what isn't. So is this punishment actually justice?
Yeah, I feel like you can bring in the death penalty to that too.
Yeah.
It is a bit of a stress, but you can kind of say I feel like in White Bear it kind of said you're punishing someone in a worse way for the crime that they did, and that's kind of with the death penalty. You're murdering someone for murdering someone. So then by doing that you are So in White Bear, you are socializing the theme of torture, and in modern society, so like over in America, Bali and stuff, they are socializing the murder of people by murdering people.
Now to the ratings.
Okay, so for entertainment and how like entertaining the film is, for White Bear, I give it a 4.5 because I believe that it was just such an engaging film. Like, it was really interesting to watch, and I feel like it's a film that everyone would enjoy.
Yeah, I give it a 4.5 too, just because I agree with you. It was quite entertaining to watch, and yeah.
So for Place Beyond the Pines, for how entertaining it was, I only gave it a 3 out of 5 because I feel like it did drag on a bit and it wasn't as entertaining as White Bear was. Yeah, and I feel like the middle part was a bit slow, and some parts were very, like, you had to try hard to focus in it.
Yeah, I give it a 3.5 out of 5 just because I do agree the middle did drag on for quite a long time and kind of wasn't engaging in that middle section, but yeah.
So for the how relatable the texts were to modern society, I gave White Bear a 5 out of 5 because I believe that it did bring in that concept of like technology and how like we are desensitized by people getting tortured, and with all like the public hangings that happen, and I feel like it just brought in all the like stuff that is modern society that I feel like Place Beyond the Pines didn't as much.
Yeah, I'd give it a 4.5 just because I do agree with you on that. The context of the two different films were quite different from each other though, but I do agree with the whole idea of the technology aspect of society being displayed in the text.
Yeah. And for Place Beyond the Pines, I give it a 3.5 out of 5 for how relatable it is to modern society. I believe that like although it does show like the social classes, I feel like that's like the only really like hard piece of evidence that like does relate it to modern society. I believe besides that, it wasn't over the top relatable as White Bear was.
Yeah, I agree. I give it a 3.5 as well, just because, yeah, I feel like I couldn't relate to it as much, but then again, in the end, when we're talking to, they were showing Jason and AJ, because they were teenagers, I felt like I could relate to them a lot more.
Yeah. Thanks for watching. Thank you guys for watching our YouTube channel. Make sure to subscribe to our channel if you haven't already, and hit like and share with all your friends.
Thank you for watching The Gabby and Celine Show.